Welcome back. Today I want to do a quick training on listening. It doesn't sound like a fascinating subject, but it actually is. And this training was given to me. I was in the Postulant ashram under Brother Mitrananda, and he called in a friend of his, and I don't remember his name. I have to go back, way back, and look at my notes and find his name because I would love to give him credit for this training because it was fantastic. There are three levels of listening, and this is going to transform how you think about talking to other people and listening to other people. It'll transform your relationships, of course, and it will change how you think about meditation as well. So it all applies. It's beautiful. You're going to love it. So let's get into it. So the very first level of listening is very simple. We see it all the time when you're talking to somebody and they're not listening at all. They're actually thinking about something entirely different, and they walk right over your words. They talk over you and they say something completely different. They aren't listening to you at all. They are listening to themselves. So that's the first level of listening. The second level of listening is what we're used to with our friends and our family. It's very dynamic, it hops along, it's very quick, and we throw something out to our friend and they, oh, that reminds me of this, and oh, thank you for saying that because that reminds me of this, and it's a back and forth and it's very quick. And usually while your friend is talking, you're like, I gotta say something, right? Right? And your friend does it back. You start saying something in reply, and he goes, I gotta say something in return. And it's this back and forth, and it's much deeper than that first level, isn't it? When the other person wasn't actually listening to us at all, or we weren't actually listening and we just walked right over their words because we were so involved in what was inside of our own heads that we didn't take a moment to get out of our own heads and listen to the other person. That was the first. And then the second is just this back and forth, right? And nobody ever finishes a thought. That's what is particular about the second level of listening. And the third level of listening is quite magical because instead of being caught up in what's inside of you and what you want to say and what you want to get out, you actually just take in everything that the other person is saying. And the person that gave me this class, they said it so beautifully. People's thoughts are like a train. And that train, you see the first car, you see the second car, you see the third car, you see the fourth car, and if you don't wait until the caboose, which is the last car in the train, right? If you do not wait for the caboose, you will never really hear the other person. You will never quite know what they were actually saying to you. But if you just sit there and absorb everything that that person is saying to you and take it all in and wait, and sometimes there'll be a gap between all of those trains, and then finally the caboose will arrive and it will show up at the station, and you will hear the last thought in the chain of thoughts from the other person, and you'll recognize, oh, this is the caboose, this is it, this is the final thing that they were trying to say to me. And then you don't jump back in, right? You don't go, oh, that reminds me of this, because that's the second level of listening. You sit there and you ruminate with all of those thoughts and you process it, even if it's just for a moment, even if it's just a very short moment. You just sit there and you process everything that they said to you, and then spontaneously you go, oh, okay, well, let me say this to that. Now, it's a question. Is the other person able to listen to your chain of thoughts as well? Of course, that's a much harder request for a normal conversation. But the magic that takes place when you actually listen to the entire chain of somebody's thoughts and you let them get to the caboose, you get this deep resonance with the person. And then when you don't just jump in, but you actually think about what they said and then you respond, it's just a magical process. Because you listen to the caboose of their thoughts, you will hear deeper thoughts, more complete thoughts than any other conversation you ever had. And that person will feel so much relief. And this is really the magic of being a therapist. The magic of normal therapy, a lot of it is in just being actually heard, this third level of listening. When you sit down with somebody and they actually listen to you, it's very magical. And you suddenly feel, if you're receiving this, you feel so much completion because somebody actually had the patience and the the discipline and the care to actually listen to everything that you had to say. And so you just feel, oh my goodness, somebody's actually listening to me. And it's very, very magical for the person that you give this third level of listening to. And so when you go to your family this Christmas season and you spend time with your family, think about all these levels of listening. It's going to be very interesting. And I would encourage you, if you're in a relationship, to share this video with them so they can become familiar with the first, the second, and the third level of listening. And you can go, you know what? In this moment, would you please give me a third level listening right now for just a moment, just in this moment. And there are other times you're going to want the back and forth of the second level of listening because it's very fun and very dynamic. And so that's totally normal. So it's not that we always have to be in the third level of listening. But when you can play with the second and the third level of listening and go back and forth with those two deeper levels of listening, you'll find that your conversations and your relationships get much, much deeper very quickly. And of course, like I'm saying, you can ask for that third level. Could you just, for a moment, take in everything that I'm saying? Let me finish. Because it's going to be magical between the two of us when we can create that. So it's very deep stuff, very beautiful. And of course, well, this obviously fits perfectly in with meditation. Because how often do we just sit and really listen? Usually a yogi will come into meditation. It's like, what can I get? And what can I do? And what can I get? And what can I do? And so at least we're not ignoring the conversation, right? At least we're sitting there. And so now we've entered into this second level of listening in our meditation. What can I get? And what can I do? And what can I get? And what can I do? Right? It's that back and forth. But if we can just sit there, if we can do our heart rate variability resonant breathing and get the 4 proofs and just listen for a moment. Maybe we'll get the tranquil breath. Maybe we'll get the freeze response. And if we can just listen to that for a moment and just soak it in, and let the last car come, let the caboose come, and maybe it will be magical because we're not in that second level of, oh my goodness, what can I do and what can I get, right? And so a lot of people see the spiritual eye, or they get the tranquil breath and they go, what do I do now? And what I get, what can I do now? Which is totally normal. And I was there, so I know what that's like, totally. So I have a lot of compassion for that. And so the answer is actually this third level of listening. So we could associate this third level of listening with the after effect poise state of meditation. We can associate those together where we are entering into this phase in our meditation where we're just going to actually listen. So we listen to the four proofs, and we listen to the tranquil breath, and we listen to the freeze response. We listen to all of those things, and we just listen to the peace. And it's quite magical. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it's a treasure this Christmas season. I hope that it deepens your meditations easily and effortlessly. That's right. And if it is, go ahead and hit that bell down below so I can see all of